Well, hello everyone. This is Will from Atypical Tarot, and I have a guest today, and her name is Sonja. And I saw her on. There was a podcast that I saw you on. It was called Your Superior Self, I think it was. That's when I first saw you, and then I also saw you on the Biba Frequency podcast as well. And I really enjoyed what you were saying. It really resonated with me. So I thought, I really want to have you on as a guest. And like I was telling you earlier, I don't usually reach out. I don't really do that. I'm kind of introverted, but I really resonated with what you were saying. And you're here for just to give a message of just healing and help, and for out of respect for everyone that's on this journey at different levels. And so we wanted to talk about some things because I feel like I connect really well to a lot of the things that you talked about. And so yeah, I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about, because we kind of have this in common too, was your military experience. So you had about over 26 years in the Royal Navy. And one of the things that came up before, and I wanted to just kind of dive a little bit more into that, was that you were in this sort of system. You felt like it was more of a system of control, but it was a part of your journey. And so, how did you navigate between that system and where you are right now? What were the things that you took from that experience?
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit difficult for me to look back because it feels like a totally different life. It's funny because yesterday I thought about it and I'm going to be 50. So this feels like the next part of my life that I'm on right now. So how was my life in the Navy? Yeah. I felt like I was in two different worlds at that time. My spiritual awakening and my work in the military. So it felt like I was a little bit off, a little bit odd, a little bit unique, a little bit different from everybody else. And that was something that haunted me like all these years because you have to realize when people see me, yeah, I'm different. And like I said in the other podcast, either you hate me or you love me. So there's no in between. There's no in between. So I tried to stay very close to my authentic self, and that was a really, really difficult time for me because you have to be in the system, but you do not want to be in the system, and you have to do all the things that you do not want to do, like my deployment to Afghanistan. That was on free will. Yes, I know. But once I was there, I was like, why are we here? What's happening? What's beneath everything that we don't see? I felt it, and it was the greatest experience of my life. I encountered myself multiple times, and I had to really, really fight, survive, and just try to be myself. And it was a very difficult time for me. So, like 27, almost 27 years, you can imagine what my life would be look like when I was working in the Navy. It was a struggle.
Yeah. So was it from the very first, well, I guess when you joined the Navy, or at some point did you become more spiritual and then things changed?
No, I already was born spiritual because when I was a little girl, I felt different from the rest. I could see people for who they really were. I saw the
Mhm.
masks fall off and the real intention of people, the agenda that they had. I could feel everything. So you have to know that my family where I grew up was not such a nice family. My father, he was a firefighter and he was a little bit stressed and he hit me sometimes and he was very dominant and that's okay now because I made closure on all of that. But in that time, I really wanted to get out of the house. So it's funny that you end up in the Navy, okay? You can imagine because what are you looking for there? Is there friendship? You want to be part of something and you just do not want to be alone. So I needed to be there. I can see that now. But I didn't find all of that there. I didn't find it. It just helped me to remember who I am. And it took
Mhm.
me like 27 years to do that. So quite a
Wow.
journey. Yeah. Yeah. But
Wow.
I
You
escaped.
mhm.
Hmm?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I escaped the system because I completed several experiences there and I needed to move on. So it was time to go. But yeah, it was a long journey and I learned so much. But I
Mm.
have no contacts anymore. Nobody's contacting me. I'm not contacting my old colleagues. No, it's not there. So it feels like a totally different life for
Wow.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. And I know you mentioned that you were doing tarot readings as
Yeah.
well during some part of your experience there. Is that something you still do, or you just,
Yeah.
or is
Yeah.
that something you let go?
No, no. I took 3 cards for today. So
Ah,
for
cool.
our podcast. Yeah, I did.
Ah.
No, you know, in my family, there are a lot of spiritual women. And my aunt, when I came back from Afghanistan, she said, "So, I'm gonna give you something, and these cards are yours now. You have to do it for the family now." And I said, "What? Why?" So it started there for me. And along the way, I learned that drawing the cards is something you do from your heart soul essence. You connect with your own heart soul essence and then connect with the thing that you want to know or the person that you are drawing the cards for. So that's different now because I realized the cards are some kind of medium interface for what? And if you rely on the cards, then you're stuck, from my perspective, in the matrix because
Mhm.
you are letting the cards tell you what it is and all the answers. But if you really deep dive into your heart soul essence and make connection with the cards, then you get the answers from within. So that's different for me now. But I still use
Interesting.
the card. I do.
Oh,
I
that's
do.
interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I sent you an email for reading that I did about this as well. And yeah, it was very interesting to see what came up. And so I felt like there was this message that needed to come out. One of the things that, speaking of like being in these control systems and things like that, like how
Mm.
you were in the military, I was in the military, and what that felt like. Um, when it comes to breaking free of that and breaking free of control systems, what are some of the things that really helped you to make that shift?
Yeah. I'm gonna say her name. She's your mother planet. That's Mother Earth. And I
Mhm.
call her in her essence like Mother Sophia.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter how you call her, but you really have to realize that your mother planet is your point of origin because she carries your vessel in this reality, in this realm. And if you really want to break free from all the systems, you have to start somewhere. And that start for me is my mother planet. To feel her, to connect with her, and to know that the relationship that we have with this beautiful being, yeah, that's real. That's real. And if you want to know what is real, you have to make that connection. So then
Mhm.
you make visible what's invisible, like all the systems. But you really have to deep dive into the relationship with this mother planet. For
Okay,
me, yeah.
that I that's interesting. I so when I one of the things that I was thinking about was how, we have these religious systems and we have these external things that present themselves as help or as,
Hmm.
something coming to save or um, free us. And I think that humanity for a long time gravitates towards that. Like there could be something exterior that wants to help, but then we elevate it above us and worship it and become its I guess its inferior component, that when we're really not. And it
Yeah.
kind of puts us on a level of powerless, where we're powerless. And I think that that's not something that we should look at. That's not something that we should really expect to save us from our situation. That it's something more internal. And you were talking about this more organic spirituality versus this more synthetic spirituality. And so, what's the difference between those two, and how do people see through that mindset of, I need something to help me, and I need something to kind of propel me forward?
Yeah. Well, for some people, it can be like in an instant, they know. And for some people, they have to do the inner work first to yeah, to let go of everything that you ever learned. Because we live in this reality where we grew up like there's a God, and we go to church and we pray, and there's something outside of ourselves that is saying how we should live our lives, how to become good people, how to love. But it's also expecting something from you, your devotion, your worship, your prayers. It needs that. And as a young girl, I was also looking for answers in the church. I did. And it was always outside of myself. So we are used to get the answers from outside of ourselves. Everything is oriented outside of yourself. But at a point in my life, I just realized that there is something outside of myself that needs my energy. It needs my devotion. It needs my dependency. I give it all away. It's just like working with the tarot cards. If you give it away, yeah, it leads its own life. But if you are realizing that there's nothing outside of yourself where you can find all the answers, you need to take a deep dive inside. So what I call the synthetic fields is in that corner from religion, like the God matrix. And if we look at the organic fields, then I look at this universe. This universe has a creator, and we're equal to the creator of this universe because we are creator beings. We create life. And
Mm,
the creator of this universe creates life also. So that's a natural organic field. But in this reality where we are in, Will, there's like a copy from the original fields. And in that copy, like I call the synthetic fields, there is also a creator.
mm,
And what if we talked earlier about that, about duality and two sides of the mirror. So you have one side of the mirror that's an organic field, and you have the other side of the mirror that's a synthetic field. But both have creators in the middle. At
mm,
least one of them is imposing them itself as a creator being, but it's not. It's in the synthetic field, it's in the matrix. It's like a copy of the reality, what is
mm,
real. And this entity, this being, calls himself the creator of all life.
mm,
But in the organic field, you need to you have to be open for this stuff, and with respect for everybody's journey, of course. But if you realize that you've never been created, just take a moment. You've never been created. It's possible. So that means that you have no beginning and no end, and you've always been there.
yeah, I love that.
And if you look at the other side of the mirror in the synthetic field, in the copy of the original fields,
Mm,
there's this creator who claims to be the creator of all life.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
how, okay, so I want to go back to when you were talking about Earth and Sophia. How does that
Mhm.
fit into that? Like, is that like the more of the organic field, like the link to the organic field, or
Yeah,
is that reaching out more towards that part of the creation?
yeah, because we're in a special time on Earth right now. This reality is changing so fast, and we are waking up. And if I look at myself, Trey, Will, I'm Sonja, but I'm the distorted version of my essence. I have some distortions because I have traumas, triggers, wounds, and everything, and my ego is there. So I'm distorted in this reality. But if you take my essence and you look at me as a multidimensional being, I go out of that distortion. So if you take a look at your mother planet, Earth, Lady Gaia, she's that distorted version of who she really is in her essence. If you zoom inwards, because I don't like the hierarchy thing, I like to think as this reality and this universe from the outside to the inside, from the inside to the outside. And Lady Gaia is the distorted version of Mother Sophia. And if you grasp it out, of zoom out or zoom in, then she is like a Sirius star system, and so on, and so on, and so on. So where we are right now is like a distorted field of who she really is, just to have the experience in this reality. But
Mhm.
if you move to your heart soul essence and you take a deep dive inside of yourself and you make the connection with Lady Gaia, you take a deep dive into her heart soul essence and you see Sophia. I call her Sophia. Many people call her Sophia. So we are the earth is redrawing herself from this reality, and we get a deeper connection with the multidimensionality of Mother Sophia.
Yes. So when we withdraw from that and we start to see things changing in the world, what are some of these things that we're confronted with? Because there are things that I feel really anchor us in,
Hmm.
and some of these things shatter, these illusions break. And what can people kind of expect to see or feel during these
Yeah,
times?
I understand your question. Okay, we have many fields of consciousness, subconsciousness, consciousness. And in that layers of consciousness, in right in the middle, there's the heart soul essence. That's natural, organic. But I drew it on a little piece of paper so I can really explain it to you, because we are really encountering this kind of stuff when reality is changing. So the natural woke state of our consciousness is really residing in our heart soul essence. That's the core. And you move outwards, then you have different layers of consciousness, because the first layer that is coming is a natural state of a subconsciousness. And in that layer, all your wounds, all your trauma, all your triggers, all your emotions are in that field. But it's still a natural state of consciousness, subconsciousness. And if you move out of that layer, then you have the natural collective consciousness, the human collective consciousness. It's coming there. And if you take another layer, then you have the natural human collective subconsciousness. But what comes then is interesting, because we are really going to see what is happening in that layer. Because I, I call it the status quo. And in that quo, we are kept like a prisoner.
Mhm.
So it's like an unnatural field of creation that is really created to keep us in spiritual narratives, all the stuff we talked about. And it's keeping us there because the belief system is also in that status quo. It's like an unnatural field of consciousness.
Mhm.
And when this reality is changing, everything is going to be exposed.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And there is this, I don't know, I guess there's this point I think that some people reach where
Mm,
they start to see these things, they start to see these changes, and they start to talk about these things, some of the things that we're talking about right now. And I think it's rare. And but when I look at a lot of things going on in the world, I still see a lot of people hanging on to like the God matrix, hanging on to spirituality, which is very synthetic, and they're afraid. So
mhm,
it's like this fear and this guilt that seems to really have a strong hold. Things like karma and ascension, and did I do a good job here? And they feel like, okay, I'm on this mission on earth, identifying with the role, identifying with the the vehicle, so to speak, and saying, I like, for example, I'm Will and I need to do this, be a good person here to do this or else. And there's this consequence and this fear that just comes,
yeah.
it just seems to be naturally embedded. And as things start to change and shift, it seems like that grasp, that grip to all the things that give you this sort of, I guess it feels almost like a sense of security or safety, or like when I said it's like an anchor, but it feels stable to them, but it's an illusion of stability. And I think when that gets shaken, which I kind of see happening,
Mm.
um, how do people work through that? Like, what is,
Oh,
or is it
that's
just
hard work.
because is it a dark night of the soul, or is it just something
It
that
could
everyone
be.
has to? Mhm.
Yeah. Some people experience that, the dark night of the soul. But you know, your soul is very smart. It really knows what to do. But if you are will, like your little ego, it's not your it's your persona, but it's not in the essence who you really are. But if you give you all your power and your control to will, it's not happening because you have a little, that's a little will. But if you take the big will and you go all the way into your soul, there's the real control. So it's
Mhm.
all about trust, trusting the process, trusting your soul, and letting go of everything in your life that is keeping you back, holding you back, keeping you in that program, keeping you in conviction and in conditions. That's not who you are. So it's different for everybody. But if you really want to let go, you need to let go of everything you've ever learned, everything you
Mhm.
know, and just fill yourself up with information from remembering who you really are.
Mhm.
So I like this conversation, Will, because you give a little bit insight of how you see things from your perspective, and I can see a little, say a little bit about mine. And it's like an equal conversation. I do not have to convince you. It doesn't feel like that because if I try to do that, you will shut down because you have your own belief systems. And it takes a little bit of courage to open up your heart and see there probably maybe another truth out there. But you know, the truth is the truth. You cannot change the truth, but you can change your perspective on things, and then your truth will change. It will, but you have to trust something bigger inside of yourself. Be-
Exactly.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't trust Sonja. You know, it's my little me. It's my ego, and it's all about mind control in that part of myself. But I need it to have my life on this planet. I know it's a part of me, but you just have to realize this is not a part of you that really is in control.
Mhm.
I guess there's a saying from the religion. I'm not sure how to pronounce it in English, but if you think you're in control, God is laughing.
Mhm.
You know that
That's a
one?
good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you flip it around, your little you is not in control. It's your bigger you. It's your essence. You're a creator being, and you have to remember
So
that.
when
Yeah.
okay. So when we start to remember that, and does that sort of strengthen that connection between you and your eternal self or your divine self within you? Does it is that okay? I guess what I'm asking is it a two-way thing, or do we have to really make that effort to go inward and connect with that?
The last one. You really need to go in and take a deep, deep dive.
Hmm.
You need to let go of everything outside of yourself.
Hmm. And I think that's the thing that is scary for. I mean, even myself, even a lot of people. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that I see that, I understand that. There are a lot of parts of me that I still feel are connected to, things in the world, things in my life. We do tend to seek comfort versus pain, and it is something that feels very natural to us. But
Hmm. But yeah,
balancing that and understanding how that what role that plays in our experience and helping us remember is, I think, the thing that helps me, because it's all about going out, experiencing life to me, and knowing that all of these things are the purpose of all these things. From my point of view, is to remember, not to learn, not to do a good job here, not to enhance will,
no,
but to remember. Because if I think of it as will is growing, will is learning these things, that's more ego driven to me. But that's the part I think that people have a lot of big problem with,
yeah,
and letting go of that, because we've been taught that from the very beginning through religion, through
you
even
cannot
new age
fake it.
stuff like karma and ascension. And
Yeah.
those things are fear based and guilt driven. And it's hard for people to see that.
In the core, it is fear-based. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But it also gives people some what I call cosmic candy. It gives a bliss feeling. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I was reading something about that. I forgot, but it was about consciousness and
Hmm.
how consciousness itself, how it separates us from, just animals in general, everything else on this planet. We have a barrier to seeing reality as it really is, because when you when you see the suffering or you see the pain and you really understand, okay, like you were saying before, there's the organic and there's the synthetic, and we're in this more synthetic earth, which is distorted. When you see the distortion, it seems like we are naturally, because it's maybe some sort of survival instinct or it's just some sort of evolutionary process that's embedded within us, to put a block on that and be more on the side of optimism, instead of going balancing the optimism and the pessimism a bit, because
Hmm.
it's it's like you said, it is a feeling of candy, cosmic candy. It's like you don't want to face the shadow side of what we're in, and conveying that, talking about that, something I think you do really well. And it's something that I think is really shocking, like we talked about earlier, to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
so that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because I want to get that out there, because I think people are afraid of that. And I understand, because when that does happen, you have so many questions about, well, how do I go on? Like, do I just, let go and not do anything here? Or what does that look like for me? You know, what
Yeah.
does that look like for someone? Because it's easy to look at that and say, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. But then you ask the question outside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody is doing. What do I do now? Tell me what to do. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to realize we're under mind control. And like I said, in the status quo consciousness, we're imprisoned. So we keep going into some loops every time in trauma, in emotion, and they are playing us. And you need to realize this reality is created because the way you look at reality is are the lenses that you see the reality. So when I grew up in Amsterdam, I had so much freedom. And I didn't have to go to church because I was baptized. Okay, yeah, but I didn't go to church, nothing like that. And when I grew up, I really wanted to have I had big questions about life. And I was searching in that corner of spirituality in religion just to see, and I could see what happened in that space. That is not something I want for myself, but I was there because I needed answers. And as time go by, I thought, you know what? This is not the reality I'm looking for. So I moved inwards, a little bit inwards, a little bit inwards, still going inwards, unconsciously, because I didn't realize I was doing that. So if people ask me questions like, how do I do that? I say, you have to take a deep dive inside and you need to let go of everything you thought what was the truth. You
Mm.
know, if we look at a spoon, Will, I see a spoon. But if you look at the Matrix movie, he says there is no spoon because he can bend reality. And he bends reality like a way he can see beyond the reality. I'm not there yet, I admit,
Mm.
but I'm in progress. I'm
Mm.
learning. But I realize this is how it must look like. But it's also something I need to go let go because what if my reality is different from your reality? But all
Mm.
the answers that you seek are inside of you. That's why I
Right.
do the quantum healing hypnosis and I call it the multidimensional hypnosis because
Mm.
we are moving far away from the quantum healing hypnosis. That's the base. That's the baseline. But you need to take a jump into multidimensionality.
Interesting. It's perfect what you said because uh, as soon as I said that, when I said, "Oh well, what do we do now?" and you said, "Oh, as you asked a question outside of yourself," I was like, "You know what? That's so true." Because like I have the understanding that I'm not Will, but then I just said, "Well, what do I do now?" Like I'm still thinking that way. It's just like the shift is so, like you said, there's this mind control, right? But it's hard to notice it. Like you find yourself slipping back and forth into it,
Mhm.
or
That's
you find
that's
yourself like mhm, going to work and getting involved in everything around you, and then later on you're like, man, I was
what happened.
really locked in.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it all starts. That you're in Groundhog Day.
Mm.
That's what happened to me when I was in the Navy. I was walking in the hallway and I was feeling like I was floating floating in that hallway and I said, what is happening? And it felt like I was in Groundhog Day.
Mm.
Same day, same people, same shit. It was all the same every day. And then I woke
Mm.
up and I asked questions like, do you have the same experience that I have? No, what are you talking about? And then I knew, oh, wow, something big is happening. And
Mm.
that's a starting point for everybody. That's a different starting point. For me, it was at that time in that moment. And I needed to, there are more experiences that I had that woke me up in that reality. So yeah, it's different for everybody. But you said I need to understand. But what if you say I need to understand?
Mm.
It begins when you use different words.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to, I think we have to do everything we can to really make sure that focus is internal. And I guess one question I would have is when people are asking these questions, or they feel like, they come to a point where they they want to go inward, and they're looking for information about that. And let's say you do talk to someone
Mm-hmm.
externally, like I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that are indicators that this is something that might be more on the organic side or more on the synthetic side? Like how do you decipher, or how do you what do you what do you look for in how you feel in your heart center that helps you
Okay.
discern this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to admit that you are under mind control. That is a big first step. I'm under mind control. We all are. So if you realize that you are under mind control, then you realize that you are lying to yourself all day, every day. That's another step because we are oriented outside of ourselves all the time. You need to please people. You need to make yourself small just to fit in, all kinds of stuff like that. And then you have to realize I'm lying to myself because I do not want to please you, Will. I want to please myself. And that's not my ego. I want to do things that are from my heart, what gives me a good feeling. So that's a starting point. You can realize that you are under mind control, that you are oriented outside of yourself instead of your inner self, and that you are seeking for answers outside of yourself instead of in yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where it starts. It started for me there. And you need to really trust your soul because your soul is like, I think we do not have a soul outside of this universe. It's just a construct to fit into this universe. This is a specific universe of light and duality and polarity, everything that comes with light. So the soul resides in the heart of this universe and it's equal, it's one with the creator of this universe. So why not trust that part of you that knows everything about this divine plan, everything about your lives that you are having in this universe and the life that you are leading on this planet as a human being.
So that makes a lot of sense to me, because like sometimes you hear about people's experiences with things like near death or whatever. And one of the things that I notice again and again is that the soul aspect of them, it seems to be still a part of this, because it's the thing that can hold the guilt, go through the life review, um, experience the me, the will, the ego. It still seems like it's focused on that. And then you talk about the real thing that knows the eternal self as being outside of that. And that's the thing, that's the switch that when I started thinking about that, that's the thing that kind of really made me think in a different way. Like, okay, wait a minute. Um, there's something outside of space time. There's something that is very different from everything that's in this, what I know,
Mm-hmm.
that is really in control, that really that isn't bound to any of this. It's perfect. It's eternal. It doesn't
Yeah.
need the lessons or the things we
No,
go through here.
yeah,
Mhm.
it collects all the experiences, all the lessons.
Mhm.
It's like a library. And I
Mhm.
do not mean the Akasha Chronics. No, I mean the soul in the center of this universe in an organic field. It's like a library. It collects all the experience that you have
Mhm. And so
as
you're talking about
this.
the soul, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because it is in harmony. And I didn't know if you mentioned it, but we have experiences in this reality, and it's like the third, fourth dimension. And above the fourth dimension, there's a big membrane. It's George Kavassalis calls it the Great Void, and it's the void we go through. to get to this reality, and it makes us forget everything.
Hmm.
So, but the connection with the soul is still there. And the higher self, you call it the higher self, I call it the deeper self or the inner self. It's right above that void. And that void is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And that's why our reality is changing. Because we can see more, can feel more, and the connection is more there. But you have to realize that from the core of this universe where your soul resides, it splits up. Your soul makes a splitting into two, into spirit and consciousness. And spirit is love, the natural, organic love, and consciousness is knowledge. And the two are splitting because it needs to get through the void. And when it gets through the void, you have your ego. And your ego is like an interface that holds both inside because you need an ego. And we do not only have an ego in this reality, we have an ego in multidimensionals. There is also an ego. Do not mistake the ego. It's a big part of you, but you have to realize that your ego is not your enemy. I see the ego as something that's holding space for the spirit and the consciousness to have an incarnation on earth.
Mm.
But we give more credit to the ego as a nasty thing than it's like a construct that holds the spirit and the consciousness. But it's
Interesting.
really, yeah, it's like a vessel.
Yeah,
And
I kind of pictured the Kabbalistic tree of life when you said that, because it does go from that one circle, then it splits, and then you have the abyss, and
yeah,
then yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, now you go ahead.
I guess there is one other. It's kind of a different topic, I guess.
Hmm.
And I've talked about this before with other people, and it came up briefly in your conversation on the your spiritual self podcast, and you started talking a little bit about like co-creating. You started talking a little bit about manifestation and how you create your reality and how you're a creator being. Now, I have had a little bit of an issue with that in terms of how sometimes I think it's weaponized. It's sort of used as a way to say it's your fault. Like you are you're a victim because you are creating this situation, and so the finger points at you, and it sort of, I struggle with that. I mean,
Mm.
yes, I do understand that concept of we create, but at the same time, I don't feel like it helps to throw that at people, which I think I see a lot these days. And I think that, yeah, I think people need to understand that you do, the way you think, the way you talk, it does kind of shape things in a sense, your mindset.
Mm.
But the way it's approached, it doesn't seem to come from a place of love in a lot of cases. It seems to come from a place of, like I said, victim shaming, victim blaming. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with your issue. That's your fault because you create that reality. And
Wow. Okay.
I think that people mean well in a sense by saying that because they want to inform people. But I think on the receiving end, it feels like you're ignoring the problem. You're ignoring that, yeah, maybe this person was a victim at some point. It doesn't mean that they are in victim mentality, but they might be healing from trauma. And
Hmm.
so to ignore the trauma, to ignore the victimization, I think it's not just. It's not right because people do go through stuff here and they are trying to come out of that. But for you to say, or for someone to say, oh, you created that, so deal with it. You're
Yeah,
creating a reality.
that's the easy way. No, it
Mm,
doesn't work like that. I understand
mm,
what you're saying. I really do. Um, but one of the things that keeps you in this construct, in this matrix, is victimhood and
mm,
drama. And I understand that everybody is going through difficulties and but if you can see it like this, Will, maybe it helps. if you look at co-creation, it means you're equal. And if we have this beautiful conversation about all this deep stuff, it's in co-creation. It's meant to be. We already orchestrated it. It was. We're now in the future, you know. We planned it like a few weeks ago, and here we are. So our souls needed to connect, and that's where the co-creation starts, at a soul level. And if I look at co-creation, it's something that helps me to go through some kind of experience. And that can be a really difficult experience. But if I point my finger at somebody is doing it to me, then I don't get it, because I'm not a victim. And you need to really let go of being a victim and feeling like a victim. It's good to marinate for some time in that feeling. That's really okay. But if you take at a higher or a deeper perspective from the soul, then you understand what is happening. Then you can see the co-creation you created together because you wanted to have some kind of experience. And the
Yeah.
question that you can ask yourself is, what can I gain and learn from that experience without hurting or blaming other people?
I guess when I see that, one of the things I feel is missing is I think that people need to be uplifted to a certain extent before they really get that slice of the pie. It's
Mm-hmm.
like um, you have to deal with the pain and the trauma first. It's like you could say, "Hey, look, don't be a victim. You know, don't stew there in your pain." But they have it. It's like saying, "Turn off tough switch." You know, it's almost like saying, "Hey, you know, just cut it out." You know, you know, don't be like that. But really, they are. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, deal with the trauma, deal with the pain, and then okay, you know, you can't keep pointing the finger at others. You can't keep saying that, you know, this is someone else external's fault and they have that power over you to take away your power to create and to manifest. Um, now that I think is a beautiful thing to do to help someone. But I guess what I was trying to say is that sometimes what I see is people skip the first step, the love step of like, hey, you know, I understand, you know, you go through stuff and it's tough. This world is
Mm-hmm.
difficult and there's all kinds of things.
Speak from the
And
heart.
that's why I said it's a weaponized version of it.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
to tell someone, you know, don't be a victim
Yeah.
is I understand that, but I think there's a process.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like going to a funeral and just saying, hey, you know, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And
No,
that person
it's
doesn't get
not
anything for
working.
that, you know.
No. People shut down. And
Mm-hmm.
what I want to say, Will, is that it's okay to feel things, because it's in the experience. We cannot jump over ourselves and not have the experience in emotion. We need to feel the emotion, energy, emotion. It needs to flow. You need to feel it. You need to go through all that, what's happening in your life. But at the end of the day, you really need to take responsibility. And here it comes, for the thing that you created on a soul level. From that deep perspective, from the soul, it's totally different. Because if I have a bad relationship with my father because he hit me as a child, I was a victim and I blamed him. I was so angry. And I needed to forgive him for the things that he did, because he did it. It's okay, you know. Now I can see why it happened, what's my experience, and it brought me deeper into myself, to love myself. It's all about self-love for me. But I needed to take responsibility, because I can carry that with me all my life till the day that I die. But if I can look at it another perspective from the soul, I can see what happened there. And I can see the role that he played for me in my life in co-creation, because we're all characters in this big play.
Mhm.
And let's be real, you are a real hero to be on Earth in a human experience. It doesn't get any tougher than that. So,
Okay. So what would you say the goal is? We have these experiences. We're here. Um, we remember, and once we remember who we really are, what how does that connect to this entire experience? It's like I can understand on a soul level because the
mhm,
soul is kind of collecting and
getting
gathering
rich,
this information. Hmm.
getting
But
richer.
beyond mhm. But beyond that, you talked about that sort of barrier and
Yeah.
something
Okay.
above that.
Yeah. Okay.
Beyond that, what is
Yeah.
that? What
Yeah.
does that get from it?
Yeah. Okay. So just imagine in one point in time, it doesn't matter how long ago, because time doesn't exist in that reality where you are. You are in the omniverse. And you are a universe yourself. Okay. In the omniverse, you are a universe. And then you are the creator of life. You create life also. And you want to have a big, big experience. And this universe comes along in the omniverse. And he says, okay, or she, I don't know, do you want to experience what it's like to be me? And I said, yeah, I would really love to feel what it's like to be you. Okay, so enter my universe. So you can imagine, like, I'm this big, big universe, and beyond then that I exist also. I've never been created. I have no beginning, I have no end. But I want to be in this universe. So I compress myself to enter this universe. And when I entered this universe said to me, you know what? You can be here for as long as you like. But once you enter, you can go out of me. It's okay. But there's a point in me that you have to decide if you are going to stay or leave. And if you are staying, you have to go through the whole journey. How long it takes, I don't know, but you want the complete experience, what it's like to be the universe of light, and you have to start somewhere. So, in the core of this universe, this creator being, you are the creator being also, in equally, you're equal. And you decided to compress yourself, compress yourself, compress yourself to go through all the dimensions. And like I said, I do not like to talk about in the hierarchy way from the top to the bottom. I like to see it as I entered on the inside of this universe and I'm moving outwards in this universe, okay? So at one point in time, you come through a void and there's no turning back. That's the first void. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into this universe. And you leave all these bits and pieces of yourself in this universe. So there's no ascension process because you are already there. You just project a piece of yourself in other dimensions, in multiple lives. You have multiple lives. You cannot even imagine how big this universe is. So just imagine how big you are, okay? It's immense. And then the great void comes, the fifth dimension, and you know you have to split up from the soul to have an incarnated soul on earth in spirit and consciousness. And then you come in this reality, and that there is a synthetic version in this part of the universe. And this part of the universe beyond the great void is so big, Will. It's a multiverse. And it has more dimension, more parallels, more universes, multiverse inside of this universe that we think this is the universe. No way. We
Mhm.
exist beyond the multiverse, beyond the void, in this whole universe. And we exist beyond this universe. So there you are in this multiverse, in this, and here it comes, grand cosmic arena.
Mm.
And I mention it especially because it's an empire. And the empire um, on the throne is the God matrix, the God of religion. So here we are.
Mm. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, Will, it's mind blowing, but it's all in co-creation. So when I say I created this, I really did because I think this is my last journey here on Earth. Then I'm out of this matrix, out of this universe. I know, I feel it so deep inside because I've been it all. I've done it all. I've been the good, the bad. I've been it all. I've experienced everything this universe has to offer. And this
Mm.
experience that I have as a human vessel, just imagine if you are this universe, because you are the microcosmos in the macrocosmos, you are this
Mhm.
little piece of universe because you went through the compression. You're a fractal, full fractal of what this universe is. And only the human species is a full fractal of this universe. Remember, you said, yes, I want to go all the way. And you went all the way from the deep inside to the outside. And that makes you a full fractal of what this universe is.
Oh, that's amazing. Like I
It,
when I
it's
think
mind
about
blowing.
that, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It seems like every stage of that can be very different, you know, from where we're at right now, stepping outside of that, um, and then beyond, and before we even come into this and accepting this universe and the experiencing it, everything seems like such a huge topic.
It,
Um,
yeah.
but I think that I guess maybe the question of why experience it. Um, Maybe it's just because um, I don't know. I don't know if there was some sort of hope or expectation that whatever that essence was that came into contact with this
Mm.
and was offered this experience, whatever, I don't know what hope it had of entering that. Was it something that it thought it could utilize from the experience, or was it just to experience? Um,
Just to experience. Because you are a creator of life. We create life. That's what we do. So this
so
experience we create also.
okay, so then I guess the other thing I think about with that is if it's just to experience, then that implies that a for there wasn't a blueprint or an explanation. There wasn't, okay, this is what it's going to be like. You just have to find out when you get to the God matrix or when you get to that point.
Yeah.
Um, if that's the case, I guess because you don't know, you're willing to accept that. But like, I think now that I'm here, like you just said, hey, I feel like I'm at the point where it's like, okay, that's it. Um, because I felt that too. But once you get to that point, it's almost like you say, I've had the experience. I've done this for a while. Um, a part of me wants to say, I didn't know. Like it didn't know, like what Will would feel, and maybe if it knows now, maybe that was something that needed to happen, because
Mm.
it would be like, okay, this universe taught me that there's a part of me once it gets compressed all the way down that would feel a certain way.
Maybe if I give you this information too, because after the great void, you can experience extreme duality, extreme polarity. And that's what's really happening here right now. All the pain, all the trauma, all the light, all the shadow, it's happening here. Yeah. So that is the last big experience in what this universe has to offer is to go so extreme, so deep into duality that you are forgetting who you are, and you can go two ways. Or you go to spirit side and you have an extreme dual experience on that side, or you go to consciousness and you have that extreme duality in your experience. Where do you think we are, at which end?
We're definitely on the more negative polarity of this. That's what I believe.
Consciousness. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are only exploring consciousness right now.
Mm,
But if you because it's all about bringing things into balance in this reality, in this grand cosmic arena.
mm,
I already said to you, we've been it all. We've done it all. I've been the good and the bad. Probably been the God matrix to myself.
mm. Yeah, I
So
remember you
we,
talking about that. You were talking about how they walk or experience this as well.
yeah,
Maybe you don't encounter them, but yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. So once you realize that you've been everything, you need to bring it home. All your light, all your shadow. And if you stay in that victimhood and drama and you point your finger outwards to other people, they did it to me. Yeah, you're not bringing it you're not bringing it home. You're not integrating your own creation of shadow. You created it, your
Mm,
experience. So some people take a long time to see it like that and then move
mm.
out of that victimhood and drama and come home to
Mm.
this to themselves and
What
just
does that
ability.
what does
Mhm.
that look like for a person? For example, let's say you are realizing that and you're like, okay, I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to be affected by the hate coming my way, the um, the feeling of not being accepted, not being wanted here, the things that are coming up a lot.
Yeah,
Um, the
collective trauma.
hmm,
They're also individual traumas and experiences and processes and collective.
yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is when you start to experience these things in life, and there are people that maybe are at the point where they're like, okay, I'm not a victim. I don't need to point the finger. But what does that look like? Do you just stop fighting injustice? Do
Yeah,
not you just not say anything and you just don't do anything?
you need to turn inwards. So that
Mm,
means you cannot express yourself like the way you always did in the outside in the world.
mm, mm,
And I've experienced it all, Will. I did. And once you come at that point in yourself that you understand that my father, he never meant to hurt me. He never meant to hurt me, but he did. And but I forgave him, and I saw why he did it. He felt powerless and he had a lot of stress, and this was his way of expressing himself to take control back in his family. And it begins with a little, you are so hard on your father because I can feel it right now, eh? I will show you. I will show you who I am. I'm going to show you what I can do. I have goals. I have career. I have ambition. That's what I did. That was
mm,
my behavior
mm,
on the way he treated me. And at one point in time, I said, you cannot give me what I need. And I was really hard at that point. You do not have the capacity to give me your love. You are not able to do that. There it begins for me. And then I went to a softer side. And then I realized, hey, my behavior, I did some, I have to take some responsibility for my behavior too. And then I moved to a softer side in myself. And I find like a pause button to pause what was happening in my life, in my reality. And then I said from the softer side in myself, you know what? You really are not able to give me what I need from you. That's different, right? Then you cannot
Mm.
give me what I need from you. So if you're asking me how it looks like this. You go hard and then you go softer because you realize he's not able to give you what you need. You need to give it to yourself. You have to love yourself. You're looking for compliments and love from your father, but that's the experience. Here it comes. This is the big process. I realized I had to give it to myself first. And once I realized that, everything changed for me. The relationship with my father, because I really, in a deeper level, understood why this was happening to me. And
Mm.
I totally got it. He wasn't able to give me what I needed because he never had it himself. His mother and his father didn't give it to him. So I made a full closure on that process. And now I'm able to have a beautiful relationship with my father because it's like keys. You receive keys in the experience that you have in the big processes, but you have to take responsibility back to give it to yourself. If somebody is not giving you the credit, you have to compliment yourself. This is where it starts. And this means taking responsibility for that you have created because you've created that experience. And once you get it, it's like a big game.
And that's a very healing message because I think that when there's a lot of things that we see in the world that are in contrast or even harmful or damaging to
Mm.
our physical experience, and they seem to um, really challenge us in that you know that whole realm of forgiveness. How do we forgive? How do we let that go? And I think you really did express that really well because you said that you realize that whatever that contrast is can't give you what you need.
No.
um, and then you also saw the fear inside of that. You see the fear inside of that contrast, and you can see the behavior stemming from that. And I think that, yeah, that does help because it really does help you see that that love needs to come from yourself, and you
Yeah.
can't really expect and have this expectation from the world because the world's going to do what it does. And so you can co-create from your place of love, but there's still there's still contrast, there's still these things that you have to operate in. um, so yeah, I think and I'm not sure if I totally understood it, but it does help, whatever I did
Yeah.
get from that. Mhm.
But the big understanding or understanding is once you are born on this realm, in this reality, you need to find your way back home to yourself. And this matrix is like a construct that keeps you away from yourself. It's like it doesn't know any other way. So you come at a point in your life that you realize that everything that happened to you happened to you and is your experience, and you need to, in that experience you need to find your way back to yourself. It's like going back to your authentic self, and everybody is a role player in that experience for you. So what about this one? Just be grateful for the people that you meet, and even if it's your worst enemy, just at a soul level, you are in perfect harmony. But you have like a co-creation together in this experience just for you to acknowledge who you really are. You need to go back to who you are. And that's the
Mhm.
big experience. You get born and it takes a long time just to realize, hey, I moved away so far from myself. I need to go back to who I really am. And that's the
Mhm.
big, big, big experience. And if you, like a record, keep hanging on that you're the victim. You
Yeah.
stay in the drama. That's okay. It's okay. But you need to find yourself. That's why you have all these big experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of something I read from, there's an author named Simone Wells, and she wrote a book called Grace and Gravity, or Gravity and Grace. And gravity is the easy thing, the anger, the fear, the things that are easy to fall into. And
Yeah,
then when we forgive and we try to do something in opposition to that, that is going against gravity. So that's why that feels a little bit harder. But when we do that, that leaves space for grace. It leaves space for something else to come in
beautiful.
and to help us remember. And so um, I guess that's kind of what I try to think about in terms when I try to think about that. But um, I think it's that gravity part of it. A lot of people just fall with that because it's easier. You don't have to do anything. The
You can
effort
say,
of the
yeah,
effort that it takes to look at something that's you know, I guess hard to look at, something that is, there's just so many things in this world, suffering and despair. Looking at that and trying to I guess see that in a way that doesn't make you fall into those things of despair and anger and fear and all this thing. That's a
it keeps
challenge,
you.
but I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But at first, maybe this helps. Just be selfish for once.
Mm-hmm.
Just take time to be selfish. And in the Netherlands, we have strawberries, of course, and you have big strawberries and small strawberries. But if I have a box with strawberries, Will, and I have a big one sitting right there, do you eat it yourself or do you give it away?
Mm-hmm.
I I always, yeah, I want to hear your answer. What do
Um,
you?
yeah, I don't know. I think it just kind of depends on who I'm with. All kinds of things are going through my mind. Like, do I think that the person needs the strawberry? Are they hungry? Or what is the scenario?
Yeah, but you
Um,
first thought you probably give it away.
mhm. Probably would. I mean, if yeah, if there's nothing that if there's nothing really tying me to that strawberry, yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no. But if you want to really take your own space, I always tell my clients just begin to eat that big strawberry. It's yours.
Mm,
And it probably feels guilt and shame that you did it, but it begins there. Just
mhm,
take your own space and claim you're a big strawberry. Just eat it. You do not have to give everything away from yourself to everybody else.
mhm,
So just be selfish for once and feel what it feels like if you do that. You probably feel guilt and shame, but that's a program.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
big program.
No, you're right, because I can think of a scenario right now where if I saw it and I turned away, I would feel ashamed.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't. That's that. I guess that's a point where I'd have to reach. Um, I think that's a challenge. I take that as like a.
But it's getting you somewhere, I promise.
Mhm, mhm.
Because you
I
you
think
go
so.
through all the layers of guilt and shame and loyalty towards others, and then you go inwards because you deserve it too.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so. I know that is what I agree, but
Hmm.
it's like you get to that point where you hear a certain thing and you're like, okay, I agree with that, but when you think of like how you can practically do it, it's it's the thing where it's the guilt and the mind control, the programming is like, no,
Yeah,
how can you? So
yeah.
yeah.
Shame on you.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah,
that's how you recognize programming.
yeah. I guess that's I think that was really I got a lot out of this conversation. I think that it really helped me because it was really deep, and I felt like it really challenged me. It helped me think. It was productive. It was like it was something that I think I'll go back and listen to. And
Hmm.
actually, I think it was just very helpful to me. And so I'm glad I had you on because I think that there might be other people that really need to hear it as well. And so you're writing a book. I know. I wanted to go ahead and mention that. Do you have like a time where it might come out or any
Yeah,
estimate?
yeah, I hope this year, but it takes a lot of effort to feel the moment to write also because these are big topics, and
Mhm.
I have to really write it on my own way, just the way I experienced it, and not somebody here say, or it has to be all me. So I hope
Mhm.
this year, Trey. Wow, Will.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I call my husband like my brother, and everybody I call different names, so it's my problem.
No, that's okay. No, all
Yeah.
right. Um,
No, I hope this year,
but
and I will probably publish it in English too.
oh,
Yeah,
good.
in Spanish. I wanted to have three languages. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, definitely let me know, and I will put your website in the link for this video as well. And yes, and I hope we can have another conversation. I
I hope
definitely
so
do.
too,
Mhm. Yeah.
because there's a lot to talk about, and I'm so curious about how you experience things too, you know? So
Hmm.
maybe in another conversation we have like a more you
Okay.
also.
Yeah, that would be great. And yeah, so once we get off here, maybe we can schedule that and see what time in the future we could do that. And yeah, so yeah, I'll just do that. I'll put your information in the link. Let me know
Yes.
when you get the book. I'll let people know about it. And when that comes out, we could definitely talk about that as well. I can't wait to read it. And so yeah, if anybody wants to reach you, they can just go to that link and
Yeah,
contact you
that's
like I did.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I want to thank you,
Okay.
Will.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you. Thank you so much.
You
And
had
I'm
great
gonna
questions.
yeah, and I'm gonna look forward to talking to you again soon.